The following is presented by the Computer History Archives project.
An abstract picture is one characterized by non-representational designs, representing no recognizable things. The question might be raised, why use unconventional designs and masses to convey ideas? But when we consider things that exist outside the range of the five physical senses, like the electron, for instance, we can no longer rely on the old familiar symbols to tell our story. Today, an entirely new field has been opened up in the processing of business and scientific data by the use of electronics. But because such processing is done without visible addition or subtraction, or the apparent movement of volumes of paper, misunderstandings are apt to arise. Our purpose is to clear up the abstractions. First, let's be sure we realize that the word electronic is simply an adjective, modifying the subject, data processing. It tells us how the job is done. There are other adjectives, other methods of processing data, such as manual, mechanical, and electromechanical, but they all have certain characteristics in common. For example, even in the earliest system, in which the processor was simply the clerk, the operations could always be divided into four general categories: input, storage, processing, and output. In time, certain aspects of the processing operation especially were mechanized by means of key-driven machines. This greatly contributed to the efficiency of the processing, but left the expediting of input, storage, and output largely unaffected. It was inevitable then that these areas should be modernized. And the result was a system using punched cards. In this system, information from source documents, bills, receipts, orders, is converted to combinations of holes in a card. The presence or absence of these holes is sensed by various electrical components. A wired control panel then directs the individual component accordingly to add, subtract, group cards in sequence. And as a result, printed reports or additional cards with new information are created. In any event, the characteristics which all data processing systems have in common are their provisions for input, storage, processing, and output. And that applies to electronic systems as well. What makes this method seem abstract is the fact that we rarely see anything that looks like facts or figures entering the system, being stored or used in the calculations performed inside. But that's because we're moving data and not the paper it's printed on. The tools of the trade are still present, but in a different form. Let's see how an electronic system provides for input, storage, processing, and output. Before source documents are entered into the system, the characters constituting the data are converted to code symbols, recorded in one of several ways. For example, as punched holes in cards, or in paper tape, as minute magnetized spots on magnetic tape, which is much like the tape used in home recorders, or perhaps as actual characters, readable by man as well as machine, which have been machine printed in magnetic ink. In some cases, the source documents themselves may be entered into the system. For example, utility bills which have been pre-punched, or checks on which information has been pre-printed in magnetic ink. In one of the forms mentioned, the data will then be read by one of the input components which comprise a part of every electronic system. And as a result, electronic signals or indications will be generated for storage in the main or auxiliary storage unit on core, drum, disk, or tape. But why change data, facts and figures, numbers and letters, to electronic form? Simple. One of the fastest things we know of is the speed of light. One of the smallest things we know of is the electron. By converting information to electronic signals or indications, we make it possible for that information to be read at the speed of light, stored in infinitesimal form, transferred simply by the movement of current, and turned into output the same way. Now let's consider the methods of storing data, bearing in mind a unique characteristic of such a system, the simple ability to distinguish between two opposite electronic conditions, such as a circuit being open or closed, a charge created by current traveling in one direction or the opposite direction, the absence of a magnetic charge or its presence. One way of recording or storing these conditions is by means of tiny cores that can be magnetized. By sending current through the various wires on which these cores are strung, we can magnetize different combinations of them. By reversing the direction of the current, we can change their magnetic state from a positive charge to a negative one, a condition that can be detected later when we want to read what is in storage. Now, of course, we do not literally store actual letters or digits on these cores, but the two possible charges, positive or negative, give us the basis for a code to represent all the necessary characters. For example, this combination of positive and negative charges would represent the letter A in storage. And by this method, the storing as well as the location and transfer of an entire item of data can be accomplished in billionths of a second, a significant figure when there are a great number of transactions to be handled. Another way of storing information is by magnetizing minute areas on the surface of a rotating drum in exact locations. A third means is the magnetic disk, which contains minute magnetized spots, much the same as a drum, but affords more surface area. The magnetized or unmagnetized areas are laid out in circular tracks, similar to the arrangement of grooves on a phonograph record. An arm, controlled by the electronic system, has access to any track and will detect the desired information so that it may be read or written out as directed. The ability to locate data in any order is a special feature of this method, a distinct advantage when it is desirable to record transactions in a master file as they occur. The magnetic tape used for input or output can also be considered a form of storage. Here again, the presence or absence of magnetized spots in different combinations will represent different characters. A section of this tape, 1 inch long, may contain as many as 556 characters. In any form of internal storage, the items of information are assigned to specific locations, each with its own numerical address, such as 7001, and this address is used in instructing the computer where to locate the specific data it requires for its operations. Each address holds a particular unit of information, a character, a digit, a word, or even a complete record, depending on the system. Generally speaking, there are 3 types of data to be stored. Basic data, comprising the facts and figures which the electronic system will use in its operations. Reference tables, such as tax tables. And third, the operating instructions, which direct the equipment and every function. We'll hear more about those a little later. The heart of the data processing system is the central processing unit, which controls the flow of traffic to and from the various components, indicating when information is to be read into the system and where that information is to be located in storage. It will also call for all the data needed in the computing operation and perform the necessary calculations, adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. It has certain logical ability, a means of comparing and making decisions. And it will direct the disposal of the new information. But just a moment. Where does the system get its directions, its program of instructions? After all, an electronic system is designed so that every operation is performed in response to a specific command. In earlier systems, these instructions were provided by the wired control panels, external to the system. To make a system perform certain operations, and in a given order, the control panel was wired one particular way. For a different scheme of operations, it was wired a different way. But now the operating instructions are actually stored inside the storage unit, just like the basic data, and in the same form. To appreciate the advantages of a stored program, let's consider a manual processing operation. Until the routine is a completely familiar one, it may be necessary to refer to printed instructions outlining the individual steps involved. But as the procedure is assimilated, certain shortcuts are discovered, and if the job requires the same operation on a whole succession of different data, it can be done without the necessity of additional or repeated instructions. Besides, it is possible to switch courses to meet conditions encountered along the way and deal with exceptions. This ability is generally comparable to a stored program which not only contains instructions on the location of data to be processed, the calculation to be performed, and the disposition of the final result, but also provides the computer with a means of modifying its own operations and altering its procedures. To indicate some of these possibilities, let's consider just one illustration called branching. The computer is given alternatives so that if it encounters certain conditions in an operation, it will then carry out a different function. For instance, the instruction might read, compare two figures. If they are equal, return them to storage. If unequal, compute the difference. By means of advanced methods of programming, one example of which was simply illustrated in the previous, we are able to utilize the potential of the electronic system in far greater measure. The output of an electronic system may take any of four different forms: punched cards, paper tape, or magnetic tape, if we intend to use that information in the system again, or desire to use it as input to other systems. Or the output may consist of printed information. The output device is simply the machine which rereads the original electronic signals and converts them to any of the forms mentioned. To provide a means for operator communication with the system, a console is available, from which the power may be turned on or off, operations started or stopped, and various devices in the system controlled directly, to mention just a few of its functions. To provide reliability of information, two general methods of checking can actually be incorporated into the equipment. Machine checks determine the validity of data handled by the input and output devices, and check on the handling of data within the system itself. In addition, there are systems checks actually included in the program of instructions, which control the overall operation of a procedure, ensuring that all the data required for processing are received and that all data leaving the system are complete and accurate. In answer to the question, then, what is electronic data processing, we can say it is simply a way of providing for the input, storage, processing, and output of data at the speed of light and in infinitesimal space. Steps in its various procedures can be accomplished in billionths of a second. And to put that into perspective, think of a full-length novel being read in less than a minute, the equivalent of an electronic system reading 14 million characters from magnetic tape in the same amount of time. We are able to do faster, more frequent reporting, eliminate peak loads with their resultant bottlenecks, and bring a far wider range of applications into the scope of our electronic operations. Because of the special features of the magnetic storage methods, we attain storage compactness, the ability to handle records of variable length, and random access to data at high speeds. Solid-state circuitry has made it possible to use smaller components, thus saving valuable floor space and reducing installation requirements. The system provides a means for effective auditing and an audit trail. Since multiple input and output units can be used, input, processing, storage, and output can be simultaneous, and multifunctions are possible. Today, an entirely new field has been opened up in the processing of data, simply because accomplishments and applications are possible that were undreamed of in the past. Jobs that would have taken a nation of men working with pencil and paper to do. Jobs that would have required several lifetimes and more paper than was available. And still the power of the electronic system, its potential of service, is something we have only hinted at. In the meantime, there need be no abstractions, for the electronic data processor is not a miraculous creature, but an endeavor on the part of man to find instruments and implements to keep pace with his own thoughts. Its true purpose is to free him for greater use of his own ability to comprehend, reason, and evaluate, and enable him to achieve faster, more direct use of these abilities for his own well-being.